And we're live. What is up to all of my veterans? Rah, rah, rah. Jimmy V here, checking in with you on a Sunday. And I just felt like coming on and talking with you guys a little bit about VA home loans. So, welcome to the channel. I'm excited that you're here. The mission of this channel is really simple, it's to provide and assist all veterans, regardless of service, retired or active duty, with all of their military home loan financing needs. Really to be a resource when it comes to hello and welcome. I'm happy you're here. We see I just had our first subscriber. Drop your name in the comment box and I'll give you a quick shout out. But I was just saying that this channel is really designed to educate veterans and active duty military. Thank you for the like on that, by the way. And if you want to learn more about VA home loans, I welcome you to consider subscribing to the channel. The primary focus. What's up, Ruben? Happy you're here. Ruben, looks like you are a real estate professional, perhaps. If you are a real estate professional, sound off of where you're at. Would love to hear from you and where you're tuning in from. But, again, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already done so. The channel is really designed to help veterans and active duty military, again, with all of their VA home loan financing needs. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what I'm seeing in the market right now, number one, and number two, and most importantly, how it impacts veterans and active duty military. There's a lot of information going on, and it really started with Silicon Valley Bank. And so I'm going to tie all of this into VA home loans, I promise. All right. Orion's Bell says, hey there, St. Louis Realtor in the house. What is up, Orion's Battle? Happy that you're here. Ruben, San Bernardino County, originally from the San Francisco Bay Area, Ruben. So it's good to see a fellow Californian on there. And Orion, thank you for chiming in all the way from St. Louis. I love that. So that means that real estate professionals are motivated and hungry to be able to serve veterans and active duty military with all of their VA home loan financing purchasing needs. And I think, just really quick, before I get into Silicon Valley Bank, there's more real estate professionals that need to know the VA home loan benefit. Why do I say that? Well, because look, there's a lot of misinformation in the marketplace today that veterans are continuously told things about their VA home loan benefit that is simply not true. And I've always told real estate agents that we need to be ambassadors to the veteran community, because this is an entitlement, and I don't use that word lightly. This is something that we as veterans are entitled to be able to use, and real estate professionals need to be ambassadors to this product. But at the end of the day, here's the tricky part, okay? Ruben, the reality is that the VA doesn't advertise this stuff, right? A lot of people don't know that, but the VA doesn't advertise the VA home loan. It's mortgage lenders that do. And oftentimes, I know this sounds scary, but mortgage lenders don't know what the heck they're talking about, right? So we need to be educated on how this VA home loan benefit works, because one more time, there's a lot of misinformation in the marketplace when it comes to VA home loans. So I was talking a little bit about Silicon Valley Bank, and the first thing that I want to explain to veterans is this particular incident. Silicon Valley Bank was really kind of backed by heavy tech, meaning over the course of the last year or so, we've seen the Fed, right? The monetary policy of the Fed, they've continuously hiked the Fed funds rate. And what that does is it makes money more expensive, right? And so when you say that we've hiked the Fed funds rate, essentially what that means for you and I is things like auto loans, credit cards, home equity lines of credit, and adjustable rate mortgages have gone up significantly, the cost of those. And the reason why the Fed is doing that is because it's trying to push inflation lower. And when inflation goes lower, that's a good thing for you and I as the American consumer. So one particular industry that's been heavily affected by this monetary policy of the Fed is the tech sector. And Silicon Valley Bank was heavily backed by tech. And so there's something called a runoff, okay? And a runoff simply means that all of these depositors were taking their money out, right? And so what do banks rely on? Banks rely on those monies that are deposited to meet their payroll. And when that happens at an accelerated clip, right, they have this runoff, and now they're no longer able to make payroll, which is an issue or a throughout the industry that we're going to see continue banks fail as a result. And the reason why I share this is because, believe it or not, this actually favors veterans. You say, what, Jimmy, what in the world are you talking about? How in the world does this favor veterans? Well, let me be very clear. When there's economic uncertainty, and I can't think of another more kind of economic uncertain event than a bank failing, that puts downward pressure on mortgage interest rates. You say, well, how does that put downward pressure on VA rates? Because what happens, veterans, is money flows from something called the stock market into something called mortgage-backed securities. And mortgage-backed securities are essentially what make interest rates go up and down on a daily basis. And the more money that's flowing into mortgage-backed securities, the downward pressure it creates on mortgage interest rates. So think of it like this. I'm going to give you a good general rule of thumb. Typically, good news for the economy is bad news for mortgage interest rates. So if you follow the reports like the CPI report, the PPI report, right, you're seeing inflation at its highest levels in nearly 40 years. Well, as that inflation goes down, which according to the last CPI report is roughly 6%, we will see interest rates go down as a result of this news, making home ownership more affordable for many. Good to go. So that's kind of how I wanted to open up our time together today. And remember, really quick, one thing, this is your time. This is your Q&A. I want to be the one to be able to answer your questions and give you an educated answer on how this stuff works. And that way somebody else isn't giving you an uneducated answer on the reality of the VA home loan, because a lot of people will say things about the VA home loan that is simply not true. So if you have a question and you want me to personally answer it, like right now, okay, drop your question down in the chat box and I'll make sure that I answer it for you. So I'm going to give a quick general overview of the VA home loan benefit. Really quick, can I share a quick story with you guys? Yesterday, I was at a Vietnam veteran welcome home event. And so this Vietnam, what's up, Shane? All right, Shane's chiming in here. Nice to see you, Shane. Thanks for the comment in the section box there. But I was at this Vietnam veteran welcome home event yesterday, and we got to recreate the welcome home experience for the Vietnam veteran. And that, my friends, is something that was absolutely incredible. So we gave them this pen. And as a result of giving them this pen, we said, on behalf of a grateful nation, we honor you and say thank you for your service to our great country. And we told them welcome home at the end. Because one of the things that I've seen over the course of my career with Vietnam veterans is not only do they not have a lot of information when it comes to their VA home loan benefit, but most importantly, they weren't given the hero's welcome that they deserved when they came home from the war. So if you ever see a Vietnam veteran, make sure that you tell them welcome home, right? Because they didn't get to hear that enough. They were called all kinds of absolutely heinous things when they came home from the war. They didn't get the hero's welcome like a lot of my Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom veterans received. So Orion says, love your background and style. Keep up the great work. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So make sure you guys that you're commenting with your questions down below. But really quick, I want to talk about the VA home loan, right? And this is something that I was kind of discussing at length yesterday with my Vietnam veterans. I said, look, the reality of the situation is that the VA home loan is the only, did I say only? Right? 100% financing loan that's available on the marketplace today that a veteran or active duty service member can purchase a home up to any purchase price they'd like with no money down. Okay. No money down and no private mortgage insurance. The VA home loan, it never expires. It never goes away, right? You can even have more than one at a time. So I think that it's important to kind of start with that when we discuss the VA home loan. And remember that the VA home loan, the VA doesn't set the credit score. Okay. Did you guys know that? So the way I explain it to my veterans is like, look, if I'm discussing VA loans with somebody, different lenders have different credit score requirements. So for example, if I said, hey, Ruben, I'm going to give you $100. Ruben says, okay, sounds good. But I say, hey, Ruben, you've got to have a minimum credit score of 620 to get that loan, because after all, it's my money that I'm lending out. Well, that's how the VA loan works with lenders. The lender is the one that's lending the money, and they get to put the terms on the loan. So it's not uncommon that different lenders have different credit score requirements when it comes to a VA loan. And I share that because what happens is sometimes veterans are told things like, no, you can't get a VA home loan from me. And they think, well, it's over. I can't get a VA loan. It's like, no, you need to check with more than one lender, because second opinions on the largest financial transaction of one's life is never a bad idea. We had a scenario or a situation where a veteran came to us 20 days ago. They've now closed on their house. They were told no by the first lender. So one more time, just because a lender tells a veteran no does not mean that you can't get a VA home loan somewhere else. What's everybody? What's up, everybody? It's Jimmy V here. Welcome. If you're just tuning in, if you want to learn more about VA home loans, this is really your time to do so. Drop a comment down in the comment box, and I personally will make sure that I get it answered for you during our time together. Good to go. So I uploaded a video this week. I talked about the two forms that every single veteran must have on a VA home loan. The first is a copy of your DD-214. The second is a copy of your certificate of eligibility, right? So the DD-214, if you're a veteran, pretty self-explanatory, right? Mortgage lender is going to look on box 24 to ensure that you have been honorably discharged, all right? From there, we're going to take that form and we're going to request something called the COE. Now, this is where this form gets confusing for a lot of veterans. The COE is something referred to as the Certificate of Eligibility. Okay, you with me on that? The Certificate of Eligibility. Now, understand, veterans, that when we get this form, it does not mean that you are cleared hot, ready to put rounds down range. In other words, it doesn't mean that you're ready to go out and start shopping for a home loan. You still have to get pre-qualified by a mortgage lender, somebody like myself, okay? If you want more information on the VA home loan specifically, you're welcome to visit my website, valoansforvets.com. You're also welcome to consider subscribing to the channel if you'd like to learn more about VA home loans and really how it works. I think the channel is a very valuable resource for veterans and active duty military that really want to learn more about the VA home loan benefit. Okay. So I was just saying that the certificate of eligibility that can be obtained a couple of different ways. Number one, you can get it from your e-benefits portal. Okay. So go on your e-benefits portal, download it there, or you can roger up with somebody like myself. All right. And I can actually obtain a copy of that from the Department of Veterans Affairs. All right. Remember, you guys, this is your time. I don't want to bump my gums on just what I have to talk about for the next however long we're together. Make sure that you're putting in your questions down below if you have any, and I will personally answer it. Okay. And so in this recent upload that I had, I talked about after you have those two forms, now is the time that you need to speak to a mortgage originator. Now, I really want to kind of put a heavy emphasis on this because I think it's important. So the reality of the situation is not all mortgage lenders are created equal. If you're following along, give me an amen on that. Type in amen on the chat box, right? Not all mortgage lenders are created equal. And if you look at the Marine Corps, I'm going to give the Marine Corps as an example. There's different jobs in the Marine Corps. Over here, you've got avionics, right? And then over here, you've got the grunts, okay? Well, here's the deal. I was an 0311 infantryman. You wouldn't want me, Jimmy V, working on electrical equipment on aircraft, right? And so the reason why I see your question, Orion, I'll make sure that I get that answered for you here in just a second. But I was just saying that you wouldn't want me working on electrical equipment on aircraft, right? Shake your head up and down if you're with me like this, right? You're like, no. And the reason why is because you might not ever get to your destination on time, number one, or number two, if at all. And that's what I try to explain to veterans on a VA home loan. It's like, look, you don't want just any mortgage loan originator who hasn't been properly trained on each other's systems, kind of like the Marine Corps infantrymen working on avionics equipment, because there's subtle nuances. There's different things that we as mortgage loan originators have to do on a VA loan to ensure that the veteran's loan will not only close, but close on time. You with me on that? So make sure, whether it's me or somebody else, that you're working with somebody who is proficient and efficient with the VA home loan. Good to go. So Orion says, can you use a VA home loan for an investment property or second home? Good question. All right. So the answer is no. However, comma, yes. You're like, Jimmy, what do you mean by that? Right. Well, the reality of the situation is that a veteran must occupy the home as their primary residence. However, after they've occupied the home as their primary residence, Orion, they can then convert that primary residence into a rental property, right? And then they can go out and use another VA home loan. So yes, I said it, you can use two VA home loans at the same time if you have enough entitlement to be able to do so. So I'm going to give you a quick example, Orion. My son, he likes to go to the mall, right? When he likes to go to the mall, he likes to ask dad for money, right? So let's just say that I gave my son $50 to go to the mall. And I said, Christian, you can spend $50 at the mall today. You can spend it all in one place, or you can spend $25 at store A and then $25 at store B, right? You got $50 to spend. Well, that's kind of like the VA home loan benefit, Orion. So let's say, for example, that you had $726,200 worth of a VA loan to use. You with me? All right, 726,200 worth of a VA loan. Now, if you use 300 on home A, that would mean that you've got 426,200 left over to deploy on home B. And so as long as you lived in home A for 1 year, you can then convert home A into an investment property. Now go buy home B with the remaining entitlement that you have on your VA home loan. So I've got a video on this titled VA Loan Secrets. You're welcome to check it out if you'd like to do so, where I kind of unpack this based off of today's numbers, but that's just a general overview of how that works. Do me a favor, Orion, if that answers your question, just give me a thumbs up in the chat box. What other questions do you guys have for me? I see that there's some other veterans here, or perhaps real estate professionals on the call with me here today, or on the live chat with me here today. So make sure that you're putting in your questions, and I'll do my best to get them answered for you. Ryan says, "Oh, I love this. Thank you." And then she gave me the bicep emoji there. I like it. Good stuff. So cool. So welcome everybody. If you're here just joining, all right, we're talking about VA home loans. I'm taking all of your questions. I'm making sure that they get answered for you from a mortgage loan originator who specializes in VA loans. VA loan limit in San Bernardino is 726. If I've used 300K for a house, I have 426 left over. What if I want to buy a loan in LA County where it's higher? How does that work? That's a good follow-up question to that. The answer is pretty simple. You can go up to the maximum amount that would be left over for that county. Okay. So some counties across the nation are considered high cost counties. Okay. So what happens in that particular instance is a veteran can go up to, like, for example, in Alameda County, where I'm from, you can go up to $1 million, right? Well, the reality of the situation is, and this is where it's somewhat confusing, I think, for a lot of veterans. It's like the VA does not have a maximum loan amount. Did you guys know that? The VA doesn't have a maximum loan amount. All right. Did you guys see that last chat box there? All right. My son just chimed in and said, I am his son. I guess he's a proud son there for a moment. My son's on the live call. What's up, son? I love you. I just was talking about you, by the way. All right. So the reality of the situation is that the VA does not have a maximum loan amount. Okay. So you can go up to any purchase price you'd like on a VA home loan, assuming that you don't have an existing VA loan out already. So in that particular instance, Orion, what would happen is you would be able to go up to, essentially, let's say that there was a difference of $200,000 in the new entitlement amount. You could go up 200,000 more with no money down. But here's what happens. If you go above that number, you have to come up with 25% of the difference. So in the scenario that I gave you earlier, right, 426, let's say that you wanted to buy a home for 526. You could come up with 25% of the $100,000. That would mean that you'd have to come in with $25,000 down. You with me now? Okay. So that's a little bit about kind of how that works. Now, one other thing that I want my veterans to know is simply this, that the VA loan, it never expires. You can use it as many times as you would like, as long as you have sufficient entitlement. And if you don't have an existing VA loan, VA does not put a cap on how high that you and I can go. All right. So meaning this, you could buy a $2 million home with no money down, but keep this in mind too. It's like, we still got to qualify, right? You still got to have the credit. You still got to have the income to qualify for the VA loan. Let me park on the credit piece for just a second. Generally speaking, I always recommend that my veterans have a minimum credit score of 620. All right. Now, there might be some lenders, full disclosure, that will go lower than that across the nation. Having said that, I still recommend a 620 because it does two things, really. Number one, it gets you a better deal. Like, you're going to pay a lower amount of interest, so you're going to save money in the form of interest rate and payment. And number two, it will highly improve, in my experience, the ability for you to qualify for the mortgage loan. You with me so far on that? So that's kind of what I tell my veterans by way of credit. All right. That's what you always want to shoot for. Minimum credit score of 620. We're talking VA loans live today. It's Sunday evening. I felt like talking about VA home loans. All right. I had a productive day. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to chime in here and talk to my vets here today and just talk about VA home loans and answer some questions. So, Leroy, what is up? Army, 11 Mike Infantry. What other benefits do you get for being a disabled vet? That's a good question. And thank you for your service, Leroy, and your sacrifice to our great country. So a couple things on that I would answer. If you're a service-connected veteran, meaning that you've got a VA disability income of 10% or greater, Leroy, you have additional benefits with your VA home loan. All right. The additional benefits of the VA home loan is because you're service-connected, because you have that minimum rating of 10%, you are able to get your VA funding fee waived. All right. So the VA funding fee is a cost imposed on the mortgage that we as veterans pay directly to the VA on our VA home loan benefit. Okay. Generally speaking, it's financed into the loan. So in this particular example, Leroy, let's just say that you're buying a $400,000 home. You're using your VA loan for the first time, generally right in the neighborhood of 2.15% for a first time user. Now they kick it up to 3 and some change afterwards, right? But you're going to save $8,000 on your VA home loan for having that VA service-connected disability rating, number one. And number two, you're also able to use that VA disability income to qualify for your loan. It's tax-free income, which, you know, for qualification purposes, obviously VA disability income, for those of you that don't know, it never goes away. Right. So we're able to use that towards your qualifying. And it's absolutely beautiful income for veterans to be able to use towards purchasing their home. Okay. So let me ask you something. I'd like to hear from you guys. Do you guys think that it's a good time to buy a house right now? I'm genuinely curious what you guys think on this. If you think now is a good time to buy a house, I'd love to hear from you. Type yes in the chat box, or truly, if you don't think no, or excuse me, if you think now is not a good time to buy a home, drop no in the chat box. I want to hear from you, and I'd be curious to get your thoughts on that. Leroy says yes. Okay, we got one chiming in. Gerald says not yet. Okay, Gerald, tell me a little bit more why you don't think it is. All right, Ruben says no. Michelle says yes. All right, well, I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. Okay, and the reason why I want to kind of paint this picture for you is that, you know, when I was thinking about this at length, I asked myself the question, is now a good time to buy a home, right? And the reason why I asked myself that is because my clients ask that question to me all the time. It's like, Jimmy, is now a good time to buy a home? And I need to, as a mortgage professional, have an educated answer as to why I think that it is. And I do think that now is a good time to buy a home. I think that it is always a good time to buy a home and begin to build and create wealth if you are long on real estate. Now, Jimmy, define long on real estate. What I mean by that is simply this. If you are going to have your home for greater than 1 year, that's my definition of being long on real estate. And so they might say, well, Jimmy, how can you say that? People have lost money. Values are going to go lower. Let me ask you a question. When you're investing in retirement or putting money away, do you ask the question, is now a good time to invest? If you have a 401k or IRA or something along those lines, the chances are you don't ask that question. And the reason why we don't ask that question is because psychologically we think, well, I'm in this game for the next 20, 30, or 40 years, right? And I know that historically speaking, right, the major indices, the NASDAQ, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the S&P 500, historically speaking, they've only done one thing, and that's go up, right? Well, what about real estate? Historically speaking, real estate has only done one thing, and that's go up, right? And now some of you might say, well, Jimmy, wait a second here, right? What about all of those people that bought homes in 2009 that absolutely got crushed in the real estate market? Arguably the absolute worst time to purchase a home in the last 50 years since the Great Depression. I mean, this is like serious stuff. It's no laughing matter. Was that a good time to buy a home? Well, probably not. Having said that, here's what I found interesting. The median home price of a purchase here in Arizona was about $236,000 in June of 2009. Fast forward 16 years, the median purchase price is about 410,000. So over a 16-year period, even in the midst of the worst economic collapse, somebody that held onto their home and did not sell it would have seen about $189,000 appreciation on that home. And so if you back up for a second on that, you go, okay, 189,000 divided by 16, that basically translates to a roughly 5.1% year over year rate of appreciation. So my philosophy to my veterans is what I'm seeing a lot in this market right now is veterans are going into the market and they're negotiating with the sellers, and the sellers are contributing money towards their closing costs and prepaid items. So you say, well, wait a second here, right? 1 year ago, you and I were paying for all of our closing costs. We were paying for above asking price on a home, right? We were, basically at the seller's mercy. Well, now it's like you guys are in the driver's seat. You get to dictate the terms. We had a veteran come under contract just last week. They got 4% seller concessions. The veteran used 2% of that money to buy down their interest rate to get a lower than market rate, number one. And number two, they used the remaining funds to cover all of the closing costs. It reminds me of the Warren Buffett saying. Have you guys heard it where he says, buy when others are fearful and be, or how does he say? I think be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. That's it, right? So having said that, if you're long on real estate, it's like value, in my opinion, is secondary, right? Because the home or a single family residence is the only investment. And this is what's unique to real estate. It's the only investment that you can live in. Right. And at the end of the day, you and I are going to be paying a mortgage. My philosophy is that it might as well be our own. Good to go. So that's just some of my philosophy on why I think that purchasing a home is important for my veterans, because I want them to begin to build and create wealth, have them pay their own mortgage and have that forced savings. And in addition to that, see an annual over time rate of appreciation on their home. Now, there might be some of this, right? But over time, it continues to go up. And that's why I think that home ownership, especially in an environment where banking is fragile, right? It's like people don't want to keep a whole lot of money in the banks. And I understand the psychology of that. No, they want to put it in something that's hard and fixed, like a home that will go up over time. And we still continue to have supply and demand issues with housing. Supply remains low in many parts of the nation. So as long as supply remains low, values are going to continue to rise. Now, I'm not going to be able to convince everybody. I completely understand that. And that's not what I'm here to do. But this is my channel and I get to tell my opinions, and you guys can agree with me or not disagree with me. It's all good. So that's my philosophy on that. So what are some of your questions? I'd love to hear from you. What are you hearing about VA loans? What would you like to know about VA loans? Orion says, highly doubt prices will ever fully come down. I don't disagree with that. We might see a slight decrease in value, but I look at that as opportunity for my veterans to be able to write a full price offer, or slightly below ask for some seller concessions and get into their home with something that we used to refer to as the VA no-no. The VA no-no was referred to as no money down and no out-of-pocket expenses. All right. Another success story. We just had a veteran that contacted me on this channel. Okay. I've actually got a post in the comment section the community section of our channel. He bought a home and he was able to buy this home in Georgia. And I kid you not, this is a true story. He bought his home in this market. The home appraised for $100,000 greater than the asking price. I mean, like, how flipping cool is that? And when I say that veterans can build and create wealth through the acquisition of real estate, utilizing their VA home loan benefit, I truly mean that with all of my heart. And I want you, I always feel like Uncle Sam when I say that, but I want you to be able to utilize your VA home loan benefit too. David says, how does the VA, or how does rate buy down work with VA loans? It's pretty simple, David. It's a good question. Basically, what you're doing is you're paying money at closing to have a lower interest rate. And during the course of that time, you have to look at it as an investment. So let me give you a quick example on this. I'm going to get my iPhone out really quick, and I'm going to just say, David, let's just assume for a second that you were getting a roughly 5.5% interest rate today. Okay. And let's just assume that the lender gave you the option to go down 1/4 percentage point. And let's just say that that cost associated with doing so, according to their rate sheet, was somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000. Okay. And let's say that the difference in monthly payment between the 5.5 and the 5.25 was about $40 a month. So it's very simple. You take that $3,000 and you divide it by the savings of $40 a month. And that equates to 75 months. You take that number, divide it by 12, that's 6.25 years. So, David, here's the reality of the situation. If you're going to be living in that home for more than 6.25 years or have that mortgage for 6.25 years, then that's a good investment. But if you came to me as my client and said, Jimmy, I'm only going to be living in this home for 2 to 3 years, I'm going to end up selling it, I would say, David, this becomes an issue for me then. And I would not advise you to buy down your interest rate because you're not going to be in the home long enough to justify the buy down. You with me on that? So sometimes, I know it's paradoxical in nature, but sometimes the lowest rate on the wrong product can actually end up costing you more money. So it's very important. I tell my veterans that we have to custom fit this mortgage to your individual need, like, measure the arm length, right? Measure the trousers and the waistline. It's like, we got to do the same thing with your mortgage according to your individual needs. Okay. So that's a little bit about how the VA buy down interest rate works. I hope I answered your question. Give me a thumbs up if I did, partner. What are the current typical interest rate in the mid 5, give or take? It just depends on how you structure the loan. That's just kind of some of the rates that I'm seeing in the market right now. So this Florida girl says, I wouldn't buy anything until the rates start to drop. If you have one low rate you will have the low rate and the low price. That's one strategy, Florida girl. You could certainly do that. I think that there is something else you should keep in mind there, and that is simply this, that the VA allows us as veterans to do something called a VA IRRL, interest rate refinance reduction loan, commonly referred to as a streamlined refi. What's up, everybody? The live stream is growing in nature. We're answering all of your questions about VA home loans today. My name is Jimmy Vercellino. I'm a mortgage loan originator who specializes in VA loans. If you have questions about VA home loan benefits, drop it in the comment box and I'll do my best to get them answered. You guys are blowing me up now. I like this. This is good stuff. So anyhow, Florida girl, VA IRRL, interest rate refinance reduction loan, okay? Streamline refi, no out-of-pocket expenses. Number one, no appraisal, no income documents, no asset documents. So this is a very opportunistic opportunity for us to be able to lower our interest rate if the opportunity once again presents itself. Could be something to consider there. So somebody else is saying, are you the only one that has audio problems? I hope you guys can hear me okay. Let me know if for some reason you're not hearing me okay. You know what I'm going to go ahead and do? Let's see here. Let me just turn off my, let me know if that works. Does that work? If it works, just give me a thumbs up and let me know if the audio is better now, because I switched off of my, I switched off of my headset. Hopefully matrix glitching out. No, that's not good. So hopefully you guys can hear me okay. But anyhow, I'll hang out here with you guys for just a second. We'll keep talking and let me know if you guys are good to go. Sounds better now. Okay, cool. Happy to hear that. So anyhow, I was just saying that the VA does have that opportunity to do a VA interest rate refinance reduction loan in the future to be able to take advantage of the low market rates. It's a very streamlined process. Generally speaking, takes a few weeks to be able to get done. Okay. So let's see here. Sounds better now. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Michelle, hopefully you can hear me. Okay. Orion, better now. All right. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Mayvette, if you're still here, I want to answer your question. Hi, sir. In a home in Washington State, and it's my VA, and I was told I would not be able to use a VA loan for the second time. This is the type of BS that I'm talking about. Like, veterans are told this nonsense all the time. And it's like, no, it's not true. Mayvette, you could absolutely use another VA home loan. Now, we have to make sure that you have enough entitlement to be able to do so. And if you were here around the beginning of the Zoom, I talked about how, every veteran has about $726,200 worth of a VA loan to use. All right. So Mayvette, if you used $300 on the first home, you would have another $426,200 left over on the new home. So Mavette, you can absolutely use a second VA home loan at the same time. You know what I should probably do here? I should probably put in my email address to say, if you guys have any personal questions that you want me to answer offline, you're always welcome to email me, jimmy@valoansforvets.com, and I'm happy to get them answered for you. So we've been going for about 35 minutes now. I've been talking about VA home loans. We've had a little bit of turbulence along the way, perhaps, in discussing the VA home loan benefit. And but it looks like we're back online here, and I'll just keep going for as long as you guys have questions. So Mavette said, "Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure." All right. Oh, Renzo, you had to ask about the appraisal, brother. All right. Okay. Well, I hope you guys hang around with me and don't all tune out when I start talking about the VA appraisal, but I see your question, Renzo, and I will make sure to answer it. So, hey, sir, I have a question. Oh, it looks like it's Renzo's first question. I put a bid on a house for a single family here in New Jersey, $440K. How does the appraisal work? All right. So here we go. All right. You asked, I will answer. All right. So the reality of the situation with VA appraisals is this. The first thing that I want you to know, Renzo, is that when you're doing a VA appraisal, it's not like how should I say this? It's not like an employee of the VA is going out to the property to appraise it. It's an independent appraiser. And Renzo, I actually have a video where I interviewed a actual VA appraiser in deep discussion about how the VA home loan process works, because this is one of the most commonly misunderstood things that I think veterans really don't know about the VA home loan. So one more time, it's like the VA appraiser, all right, is going to go out to the property. It's not an employee of the VA. All right. It's an independent appraiser. It's XYZ or ABC Appraisal Services. And they're going out to that property to look at three different things. Okay, Renzo. Number one, that the property is structurally safe and sound, secure and sanitary. I guess that's four, but safe and sound, in my opinion, is one. Secure and sanitary. No safety hazards. That it's secure, it's functional. Okay. It's got locks and doors, right? And sanitary, that there's no health related issues in the property. So long as you check all three of those boxes, you will not have any issues with the VA appraisal. All right. Now, the other thing that I want you to know, and this is important, veterans, don't let anybody ever tell you that the VA loan appraisal process sucks, because it makes me mad. Okay. We'll just leave it at that. The VA appraisal process is unique because there's something that's built into it called a Tidewater notice. And the Tidewater notice means that if for some reason the appraiser is not seeing the value in the property, you have 48 hours to provide additional comparables that support the value of the home. In other words, Orion or Ruben, you guys get to lobby for the value before it's even issued. Name me another appraisal type that will allow you to do that. There are none. All right. I'll make it easy on you. But Renzo, the other thing that's important to understand too is that VA appraisers are also conventional appraisers and FHA appraisers. And there is no circumstance where a VA appraisal, and you can even go back to the video where I interviewed Jay Josephs with Joseph's Appraisal Group, who said this directly out of his mouth. There are no circumstances where a VA appraiser will give you a different value on your property because it's a VA loan. I can't stand when people say that, because it's giving veterans misinformation that is adversely impacting their ability to use a VA loan. I've had veterans call me from this channel before and say, Jimmy, I was told by my lender that I should use an FHA loan. Guess what? He ended up closing his home loan with me on a VA loan. My feeling on that is it's malpractice for a veteran to take out an FHA loan when they could otherwise qualify for a VA. Because the veteran, if you do the math on that, is probably going to pay somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 and some odd a month on a $400,000 purchase price every single month to FHA in unnecessary expenses. Why in the hell would somebody do that? That's why I say it's malpractice for a mortgage loan originator to put a veteran in a VA loan when they otherwise qualify, just because the mortgage loan originator is incompetent and doesn't understand the VA home loan process. We deserve better, right? So really quick, if you want to learn more about VA home loans, you're welcome to consider subscribing to my channel. All right. If you found that this information is of value, would you consider doing me a favor? Show your love by clicking like on this video. It helps to promote the video, educate more veterans and active duty military. And that, my friends, is of course a good thing. So I appreciate that. So this Florida girl says, can I use my income from a studio to finance a second home? I already have a home, but not a VA home loan. So the answer, I think what you're asking is can you use the rental income to offset the mortgage payment of your existing home, Florida girl? And if that's your question, the answer is yes, you can, 75% of that. Okay, so if you've got $1,000 mortgage payment, okay, you rent out your home for $1,000, the lender will give you $750 to offset that mortgage payment. So that way you don't have to qualify for the whole thing. All right. Hello to you. Thank you for chiming in. Renzo, I'm happy that it's my pleasure. I'm happy that you found that information to be of value. So the official TKB says, what do you think is more profitable in the long run? Buying a triplex, renting it out, the units, or buying a condo and putting it in an Airbnb? That's a good question. I think you just have to look at each individual scenario and just kind of run the numbers for yourself. You know, me personally, I'll give you my answer. I would lean towards the multifamily. Just my philosophical approach to investing. I've never really been an Airbnb guy. I just have some sort of innate adverse emotion towards it. I don't know. It just makes me uncomfortable. So I personally would go towards the triplex or fourplex. And you really bring up a great point, the official, because I'm not aware, maybe not all of us as veterans know this on here. But the cool thing about the VA loan is it's not a one-trick pony, you guys, right? You can use it for a single family, condominium, multi-unit dwelling, up to 4 units, okay? You can even use it to build a home, right? You can buy, I think I said condo, you can buy a manufactured home with it. There's all of these really unique things that we can use with our VA home loan. PHE SCG says, what was your first investment home? Yeah, I bought a home, converted it into my primary, went out, put rounds down range with my VA home loan benefit. That was my first investment house. Held on to it for 11 years. All right. So now I've moved into some commercial real estate, and that's been fun to do. And I'm kind of, leveling up just like you guys, right? So I'm under contract for my first home using VA. Beautiful. That is outstanding. Congratulations. I'm happy that you're here. I hope that you have some additional, I hope that you're having a great experience. If I can answer any questions and help you navigate the process, please let me know. David in HD says, can you answer my first question? I might have missed it, David. Where is it? Here it is. If I'm a seller, thank you. If I'm a seller who's offering 3% plus covering the survey and title, if my closing costs end up being less than those incentives, can the remaining amount go down, or can you use the remaining monies to buy down, or to drop the price? No. So here's what I would do in your particular instance. I would use that money to buy down the interest rate. We've had that scenario happen before in the past. I'd use that money to buy down the interest rate on the loan. Okay. So that's a little bit about how I would do that. All right. Any other questions? All right. Any other questions? All right. Beautiful. So we're coming in at about 43 minutes. If you guys don't, here we go. What are the interest rates today? So generally speaking, I'm seeing interest rates probably at around mid fives on a VA home loan. So that's kind of where David in HD says, I subscribe. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. That's what the channel's here for, to educate veterans and active duty military and real estate professionals. Okay. How many mortgage payments do you have to make before you can do an IRRRL? Good question, RD. All right. Generally speaking, it's 181. Come here. Come say hi.
At the channel right here, y'all.
This is my boy right here, Christian Vercellino. He was tuned in a little bit earlier. So he's got his own YouTube channel too, but he's doing, okay, let's go, man. Get out of here. All right. Sorry, guys. My son just crashed the YouTube live here. So anyhow, 181 payments. All right. Investor in the making. Yes. 181 payments. Sorry, guys. 181 days, generally speaking, 6 months of payments that are required for the VA home loan, okay, before you can do the interest rate refinance reduction loan, okay? Am I licensed in South Carolina? Yes, I am. Through my partnership with First Western Trust, I'm licensed to serve. I need to do a better job of saying this, by the way, but I'm licensed to educate veterans all across this great nation in all 50 states. So if I can personally be a resource for you, please don't hesitate to let me know. My team and I would be honored to assist you. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, we're coming in for a soft landing here. Unless you guys have any other questions over the VA home loan benefit. What about 203K loans with VA loans combined? Good question, Ruben. Answer, no. Okay. There is such thing as a VA renovation loan. Some lenders will do them. Other lenders will not. But you can't do a 203K loan in conjunction with a VA loan. And do you help with searching for land and farm? That is not something that I would cover or be able to assist you with personally, Ricky. However, I could certainly help you in identifying somebody that might be able to assist you. Who is the first lender that you went with? What are your experiences with different lenders? So, really quick, PHESEG. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce your name there, but I am a mortgage loan originator, and I specialize in VA loans. So the purpose of this Q&A live is for me to be able to share best practices with veterans and active duty military about how the VA home loan works, so that way they can properly deploy it. So I've always done my own loans, or my company has always done my own personal VA home loans. Good to go. All right. So that's all I've got for you guys. We spent about 46 minutes together today. I hope that you found that this information was of value. Does your company service the loan or sell them? That's a good question. And generally speaking, the servicing rights are picked up by another lender, which means that the loan will start with company A, and then you will eventually make your payments to the correspondent investor of company B within 30 days of the transaction. Ricky Sanders says, thank you. I will be calling you soon. You're doing a great job, and I will always support. That really means a lot to me, Ricky. Don't ever stop. All right. I won't. All right. Haven't stopped yet. I'm still motivated as ever, and I'd be, crazy to give up now, right? Can I use my VA loan P&T to purchase a house? Absolutely. You guys will keep asking me questions. I'm going to keep answering. All right. So we might be here a while, but can I use my VA P&T to purchase a house? Absolutely, you can. I was sharing a little bit earlier on that the VA loan, 100% permanent and total service connected, generally speaking, that's probably going to put you around $4,000 a month. That's income that you will receive for the rest of your life. And not only can you use it for your VA home loan purchase, but it waives your VA funding fee. So you're going to save tens of thousands of dollars over the course of your home buying career, D5DD, moving forward into the future. So that's good stuff. All right. That is really good stuff. All right. Any other questions, departing questions before I roll out? No worries at all, man. I want all questions. No silly questions. Only silly question is one that's not asked. So any other questions for me before I roll out? If I'm 100%, are there extra benefits because of that? Yes, you're going to have your VA funding fee waived, and according to your tax county, you may be able to have your property taxes waived. All right. So I would Google property tax exemption for veterans in your specific county and make sure that you are kind of getting all of the necessary information. Like here in Arizona, veterans are entitled to have up to $3,000 of their property taxes waived if they're 100% permanent and total is what that means. Okay, face egg, that's what that means. Permanent and total basically refers to our disability rating. Okay. Hey, can I ask can I ask a favor of you guys? If you found that this information has been of value, would you consider showing your love by clicking like on this video? And I've earned it, if you feel like I've earned it. And then also, if you would be willing to consider subscribing to the channel, so that way we can continue to educate more veterans in active duty military with all of their VA home loan financing needs. And if you have any other veterans or active duty service members or friends or family that have questions about their VA home loan benefits, send them to me because I want to answer their questions. All right. All right, Fake Sake says, I've been subscribed to you for a while now, never caught you live like this. Do you guys think that I should keep doing this moving forward? I'd like to. I have fun doing this, and I'm kind of experimenting with it, and it's been a good time, and I'm getting a lot more questions now and more people that are tuning in. So my email, jimmy@valoansforvets.com. People are saying, yep, yes, absolutely, good to go. All right, guys. So unless I have any other questions, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for hanging out with me, talking VA loans. I'm going to go spend some time with my family. Okay, we had another question, so stand by. Ricky says, if the max is 700,000, then does it mean it will be a high interest rate? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's the beautiful thing about VA loans. Generally speaking, the VA loan interest rate really doesn't vary all that much based off things like loan amount. Now, credit score will absolutely have an impact on your VA home loan interest rate, right? But generally speaking, anything north of 680 to 720, those are really going to kind of be streamline rates, meaning you're not going to see a whole lot of change to the rate for those credit scores. Okay. Let's see here. If can you roll the VA funding fee into the interest rate? Great question, Mel. I should have done a better job answering that when I was discussing VA loan funding fees. Absolutely. Yes, you can. Veterans can always roll that VA funding fee in, or they can pay it out of pocket if they choose to do so. Now, Mel, in my experience, what I see is not 10 times out of 10, veterans are typically rolling that in to the VA loan. Very rare occasion, you'll have some money left over when purchasing a home, and you can roll it into buying down or paying off the funding fee from the proceeds. But 10 times out of 10, it's rolled into the loan. Okay. Do you rate match? Well, it depends from the standpoint of if the rate is available and I can lock you in it, the answer is yes. If the interest rate is unavailable, the answer would be no. But if you'd like me to give your scenario a review, I'd be happy to do so and see if there's possibly an opportunity to save you money by way of interest rate and fees. Okay. Hope that answers your question. All right, guys, I can't believe it's been 52 minutes. Did that go by quickly? Thank you, all of you that have been with me since the beginning. How many of you have been with me since the beginning of this? I'm curious, all right? Have a great night. Thanks for your time. It means a lot. It's my pleasure. It's my honor, and it's my privilege to provide and assist you as veterans of this great nation with information that helps you to make informed buying decisions for your VA home loan benefit. How hard is it to get the owner to pay closing costs? Just depends. Depends on a lot of different things. How long the house has been on the market, how much interest there's been in the home, how much negotiation room that the seller has. That's where you would consult with your real estate professional to be able to see if there's opportunity there to get the seller to pay for your interest rate. I learned of your channel from Shahida Hill. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, Shahida had me on her channel probably about in November, I think it was. So Shahida's great. She's been a good friend of mine. So can you use your VA loan to buy land and farm? Negative. All right. VA loan makes sure that it's a single family residence, condominium, townhome, multi-unit dwelling. Okay. It's got to be one of those 3 or 4, or even a mobile home. Okay. But you can build a house with the VA loan. There's very few lenders that will do that, but you can actually do that. So on acreage, I guess that's what I would say. All right, guys, I better get going here before my wife gets mad at me. You guys don't want me to get in trouble, do you? But anyhow, hey, thank you for your time today. I appreciate you all, and I'm grateful for your investment of time with me. One last time, if you found that this information was of value and I earned it, would you consider showing your love by clicking like on this video? Also consider subscribing to the channel so that way we can continue to lock arms together, educate more vets and active duty service members. Appreciate you all. Much love. Good night.